Kia ora, hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you so much for joining us for our Friday update for May the 5th. And we've still got this warm subtropical airflow across New Zealand, but it is going to move away next week. There is a southerly coming along ahead of the next big high pressure zone. So big temperature drops across the southeastern corner of Australia over the weekend. And then next week it arrives in New Zealand around about Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And the whole country should see those subtropical northerlies finally clear off to our east and a cooler southerly flow coming through from the Southern Ocean, although the exact wind direction could still change around a fair bit. So let's get into the forecast with rainfall once again. So here is the next 24 hours of rain. The main areas of concern, the very top of the country, or at least the top of the North Island, the top of the South Island. That's where we're going to see the heaviest rain, with the Nelson-Marlborough area seeing the most, potentially over 100 millimetres just today. So that could cause a few issues, especially with the risk of slips on some of the highways there. Shouldn't be so problematic further down on the west coast. And this heavy rain to the north here could still brush some other regions like Taranaki and even Auckland. So at the moment, the rainfall totals don't look huge, but those of you who have been looking at the rain radar will notice there's a very fine line between the wet weather and the dry weather at the moment, at least in the north of the country. This is for the next 5 days ahead. So you can see that heavy rain still clipping the top there, and also more to come through to Bay of Plenty, East Cape, Coromandel Peninsula and Taranaki as this big sort of slow-moving rain band just slowly crosses the country in the coming days. But the bulk of the rain, certainly in the South Island, Nelson, Takaka area, you're on track for getting up to 200 millimetres over the next 5 days. That is problematic. That can cause slips and flooding. And the West Coast also has similar totals, although the West Coast often copes with it a little better. But we will be seeing, I think, a few issues just around the northwestern corner of the South Island. Elsewhere in the east, your rainfall totals are not that much. And in Australia, well, there is that southerly change coming through in the next few days, really from Adelaide to Melbourne to Sydney and down to Hobart. Those are the areas getting rain from that southerly, and the rainfall totals not huge, 5, 10, 15 millimetres for most of you. So here is the forecast on Saturday. There's the cold front. So to give you an idea of the temperature drop, Adelaide goes from 17 today to 13 tomorrow. Melbourne goes from 18 today to 12 degrees tomorrow as your maximum. Hobart, 16 today, 11 by Sunday, that is your high. And up in Sydney, 21 degrees your high today, but only 14 degrees by the time you get to Sunday. So that is that colder change starting here. Now on the New Zealand side, still warm, especially around the North Island, with that airflow coming from around Rarotonga and Tonga itself down over the North Island. No real change on Sunday. It carries on across the country as that southerly goes up to Sydney. And that's when you get that temperature drop across New South Wales. So a decent southerly flow for you, a warm subtropical flow for, northerly flow for the North Island, moving back down again into parts of the South Island, and more rain there in the Nelson region. And by Monday, again, still that subtropical airflow. This is an enormous high out to our east. It's going to take some time to move away, and the next one coming in is the same size as Australia, basically. That's another big, slow-moving system. And in between the two, there's the cold southerly, there's the low pressure zone, and more northerly rain. So as we go into Tuesday of next week, that's basically the end of the northerly flow for many places, or at least the subtropical flow. So rain returns. Nelson Ranges, Takaka, down on the west coast, the far north, Taranaki, and parts of Bay of Plenty and Coromandel. That rain will return as a mild but windy northerly flow. That's on Tuesday for you. And by Wednesday, there is that cold change, blasting into the Tasman Sea, easing for Australia as that high rolls in, probably some frosts higher up on the plateau. And in that, on this map here, you've got that big southerly flow starting to come into the South Island. Still a mild westerly for the north, but your temperatures will be dropping as well. So as we get to Thursday, that's probably the coldest day of the week next week for New Zealand. So some examples for you. We are seeing Dunedin with a high of 8 degrees on Thursday next week. Christchurch, 9 degrees. And even up towards Hamilton, your overnight low tonight is 16, but your daytime maximum on Thursday next week is 15. And 15 is a lot more normal for this time of the year. So a bit of a reset coming through with the temperatures next week as that southerly change comes in. And by the weekend, we're expecting that high to slowly move in towards New Zealand. But it could still be a bit messy. This is not 100% locked in. The maps are changing each day, pretty much showing the southerly, but just not 100% locking in what the high pressure zone is doing to the south here, which alters the wind flow, turns it more easterly. So that could still change. That is all from me. Have a great weekend. Look forward to seeing you again on Monday.